Hello, hello.
Hey, Boolo.
So what's this recording for?
This recording is about how we found our designer, Julie Ondo.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. So, as I recall, our architect, Mike Coleman, said to us one day when we started the work again with him in spring of 2019, he's like, hey guys, you need to work with somebody to actually help you lay out the kitchen, right? The cabinets and what kind of cabinet, what kind of finishes, the colors. I think that's how that search started, right?
Yeah, it did. And
we asked a few friends, people recommended.
but they kept leading us to, well, it's not their fault, but they kept leading us to, basically other design studios that were shops, which of course the shops already carry like certain brands and certain lines of cabinetry and fixtures and whatnot. So
well, and that would be fine because we've done that in the past. Like both our bathrooms, Cabinets Plus and Palatine did a really good job, right? Yeah. But we were like, this is a whole house project. Can we get someone who's really holistic and can think about everything?
So, well, that's not how it started though. It first started, we just found we wanted a kitchen designer. And we interviewed one other person, and the vibe wasn't there. But as soon as we interviewed Julie, and Mike said he'd worked with her on other projects before, so that's always a good endorsement. And right off the bat, Julie got one of my Rush references.
Well, yeah, that would matter to you.
And she said, "Oh yeah," she said her brother used to play Rush all the time. And
that's right.
And so I thought, okay, well that's a good check in the win column for Julie.
Yeah.
So, but no, it was really good because she just the vibe was there.
The vibe was there. But do you remember the first time she came to our house? She listened, and she was there for probably 3 hours. Yeah, I think that first time. And she took in a lot and really sponged it up. I mean, that told us right there that she could be a really good person to work with.
Well, and the other thing I liked that when she brought some of her samples with us, she shows that she actually hand draws.
Oh, right.
She draws these like bird's eye, top-down views of the rooms of her designs. And for me, being very visual, I loved that because it was almost like it was a 3D rendering without it being rendered on a computer. It was almost like a hand-drawn, like, here's what it's going to look like. And I thought, wow.
Well, she can sketch on the spot because she recently did that during our patio layout session.
Well,
she just literally started sketching on the spot.
And as we're kind of working backwards here, but that has happened a lot with our relationship with Julie, is that we'll talk about something and then she will sketch it right out in front of us. So we're seeing what and we'll say, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, that. She's done that for the... She sketched that out to show us what like the prep kitchen would look like. She sketched out, kind of when I was looking at doing this like built-in pizza oven on the patio, she sketched out what that would look like really quickly.
She sketched out the bathroom at times. Yeah. I think what it is it helps us understand what it's going to look like bring it to life. So you can really feel the space versus seeing it more in a 2D plan or just a kind of a flat, or just a conceptual conversation. So, I mean, I've really appreciated that about her. The thing that, though, I think that distinguishes, because first off, she has the chops, right? She's a designer. She's got a lot of credentials behind her name, and she's done this for a long time. So that was a given, and we saw that when we first met with her. And then to your point about Rush and everything, we just felt like there was that vibe. But I think the thing that, for me, is so impressive is that she really designs with behavior in mind.
Sure.
Like, she really looks at how does the client live? Like, what are they doing every day? I mean, do you remember when we were thinking about the master bath? She literally had you and then me go through our routine.
Yes.
In the morning of getting up, getting ready, whatever, being out of the house, coming back, the evening. Like, she had us walk through that.
Well, she did. She said, show me what you do. You walk in the door. Let's just go downstairs. So I would walk to the door and I kind of pretended where the new door would be. And I'd kind of walked in as though I'm getting home from work. Well, here go my keys, my wallet, my ring. And, I plop all that stuff down on my phone. I plop that down here. And then I walk in and I go, this is where I change my clothes. And what happens to your clothes? Well, I plop them on the bed or I throw them on the back of a chair or whatever. And she was just taking notes and just listening. And it was interesting how she just, she listened. But we should also go back a little bit further because the initial idea was just getting a kitchen designer. And very quickly, we realized that we needed someone who could design for an open space, not just the kitchen. Because we were opening up that wall. We were connecting the living and the dining room with the kitchen. So we really needed someone that could make this entire space seem like it was intentional versus just taking a wall down.
Yeah, because we didn't want a house that felt hodgepodgey because
Right.
it's open. And then we also knew with an open stairwell, all the levels, because that whole open stairwell is so open, everything would feel so connected.
Yep.
So we needed someone to help us envision. And even for me, especially, I was like, what's the style now of our home? We're going to have pieces of furniture we've had for years, but we're going to have new things. And how do you make it all work together? So I think as soon as we started working with her, we're like, we need your help with everything. And how do you actually bring it together?
Well, and that's why we, after we were really impressed with what she did with the kitchen and the living dining room area, we said, well, we need you to take a look at the master suite as well. So we asked her to then, because she was not originally engaged to do this, but we engaged her to actually help us design the master bathroom and get all of the things laid out the way that we wanted. And also to make the master bedroom fit with that as well. So, and eventually we asked her to help out with the fireplace stone and the mantelpiece downstairs in the family roome.
And the offices. How
and
are the offices
how are they going to be?
She's talked to me about how do I typically work. I work all over the house. What kind of space do you want to have? What do you typically do with your books? What do you do with your computer? Where do you go?
Right.
We've talked about this, but let's go back to like the first time the behavior thing became so critical. Because let's think about it. We had these amazing plans with Mike, and Mike's done an amazing job with his architectural plans. But we had, if you recall, in the kitchen, we had the eating nook, the breakfast nook, and I was really tied to that idea.
Yes.
And we were like, great, we're going to have some specific seating, breakfast nook. It's even called that. How cool is that? And I loved it. We had the big island and all, and Mike had planned all this stuff out. And then when Julie and we started working together, I mean, we shifted gears. We don't have a breakfast nook because she made us realize that really the way we live, the way we cook, the way we collaborate in the kitchen, we needed our behaviors that we described to her told us, you need a breakfast nook a lot less than you need more space to prep, to harvest vegetables, to clean, to ripen tomatoes on those shelves that are going to be over that prep kitchen sink, right? I mean, that was a huge change.
That was the big change.
And that's where we realized, wow, that's valuable.
Well, that was the thing. So, I mean, she had us, go through, that's that initial listening session that she did when we talked about how much we like to cook and entertain and all of that. And she said, well, what's that like? And we explained to her what it's like, the little dance that Amy and I learned to do, having, two double wall oven and then a fridge behind us. And then, and we were always bumping into each other when we were trying to cook. And we learned how to manage that being in such a small, tight galley kitchen. And that's when she realized with us, she's like, no, you guys really are telling me that what you really need is more prep space. And that's where the prep kitchen came from. But then we thought, well, gosh, what about the breakfast? Because Amy really liked the idea of a breakfast nook. So now Julie came up with the idea of the banquette table, which would be on the east side of the hallway entrance there under the transom windows. And so that was just, she always had like a way to fit everything in that we wanted. So we just really appreciated her ability to do that. And
well, I think it's the ability to really listen and to really see how the people live and then to translate that into what's the solution. Because I think a lot of times in laying out things for a home or figuring things out, people, again, they go with what's on trend, or they go with, hey, everyone has an island, I should have an island. Or hey, instead of really looking behaviorally at how does someone live. Because for us to totally change our habits, that's more difficult than for us to design a space around our habits. And that's what she's doing so well with her partner, Carrie.
And just as a side note, I wonder if that's why we have walked into some homes when we were looking for home to buy. If that's when we walked into some of these kitchens, we're like, what in the hell were these people thinking? Because there were some kitchen arrangements that are like, who would have designed this? And maybe that's a result of someone's very intentional thinking, very intentional behavior.
That's a good point.
This is what we wanted because this is how we live. So I think we have more appreciation for some of those strange layouts. And not to say that ours is strange, but that ours fits the behaviors. Ours fits the way we want to live. And
yeah, because we literally have 2 kitchen triangles, right? We have that's I think where she heard about the dance we do in the kitchen. These guys need almost 2 kitchens. They need to be able to cook together, but also have each space, you know,
Yes.
so they have enough space and they're not on top of each other when they cook.
Right.
So, I mean, I think her behavioral understanding and translating that into a solution is absolutely key and really useful. Obviously, she had the technical chops. Obviously, the other thing she appreciated was the vision, but she's taken that further in that she's encouraged us to go further with our vision.
Yeah.
I mean, she's been a big supporter of us sharing our story and shared it with others, which is awesome. The other thing, though, I want to appreciate that she has brought to the table, and I've seen that in the project a few times, is if you recall, I called some of her references, and a couple of the projects I called about, there were some hiccups in those projects, like not almost nothing like we haven't had those kind of hiccups, but hiccups where things went really awry with a contractor, with an architect. And it just seemed like she was able to bring things together and help them move forward. And she knew enough about the science of it, almost the structural science, to be able to help people get through some real bumps and to navigate between a contractor and an architect and a subcontractor. And I was impressed by that. And I do think on our project a few times we've seen her smooth some things over and make sure as a customer we're getting what we want and everyone's got.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can call one of those instances out. It was the towel bar. I think,
the towel bar.
And Amy and I weren't even involved. We'd been intimately involved with everything up to that point, but then there was a meeting of the minds that happened apparently where the towel bar got sorted out. And we were told,
that's right.
Don't worry about it. It got sorted out. So I think Julie had a meeting with, our architect and the electrician to get that sorted out where the electricity needed to be for the towel bar. So
yeah, and it's great now.
And that's great. And the sauna too. So we got the sauna sorted out in the master. So and that's it's like you're playing Tetris inside that master bathroom. One of the initial hiccups with the bathroom was Julie realized that we needed a much wider tub than what we had designed in there. And so the width of that tub was going to push out the overall space to begin with. Plus, if the sauna on the other side, you needed to have a wider space. So that just changed the architecture slightly in that master bath. We had the sauna in the northeast corner of the bath. We had the toilet in another wall. We had we had a double vanity against the north wall. We had all sorts of different almost every configuration you could imagine. And then where we ended up, the final behavioral thing that she interviewed us about was how does our bath routine work out together? Because Amy and I have never shared a bathroom in all our years of marriage. Even when we were dating, we didn't. So what she learned from us is that Amy spreads. Amy spreads, and I like to have my own space in the bathroom. So what she designed for us is two separate vanities, separated by the door to the bathroom. So it's great that we're actually sharing the bathroom.
Yeah, but we have our own
But we have our own space, which is great.
So I think, I mean, for me, if I think about everything that we just talked about, the big learning for me and the big, like, if we were to do it again, would I employ her and her coordinator, Carrie, again, for sure? Just like I would employ our architect again, Mike Coleman, for sure. What I would do differently, though, is I would bring someone like Julie or Julie into the process earlier.
Yeah.
I would have her almost at the table when we're doing first designs with Mike Coleman.
Yes.
Because I think we would have gotten to final plans quicker. Now, we weren't ready. We didn't know. We took some time off after the plans because I needed to get my business up and running more. But I think if we were to do it again, it's like have the key minds at the table early. Then you get that creative tension that happens with different perspectives. You get sort of the best thinking, and any different points end up being resolved early. So we might have never had a breakfast nook right away. We would have had that realization about our behaviors in the kitchen and two triangles and all of that, and could have gotten there faster. So that would be my one huge piece of like learning for anyone else thinking about this.
And I would suggest that for definitely if anyone is looking to do what we did. So we're not just remodeling a kitchen. We're remodeling a house to be LEED Platinum certified. So you're talking about an architect whose attention must be placed on the energy efficiency of the house. I mean, we wanted Mike's full attention on making sure that we're maximizing the credits we would earn for LEED certification. So, we need another person who can focus on all the aesthetics inside. And I think sometimes architects get stuck doing the aesthetics inside as well, especially on other parts of the house where you haven't contracted a designer to do anything. And I think a project like this, you need a lot of different special skills, and a generalist doesn't quite do it. So I think having this great team that we have, and I think we should also mention a little bit about Carrie as well. So Carrie is Julie's design coordinator, and it's fabulous. It's like yin and yang, the way Julie works and the way that Carrie works. And Carrie's fabulous because Carrie's got all the details nailed down, and she's obviously got her own creative perspective on things too. Amy runs a lot of stuff by Carrie and says, "How does this look? What do you think about this? Does this look okay?" And then what we love about it is like Amy and I don't have to worry about like going through 500 different kinds of mailboxes or doorbells, to pick from. Carrie and Julie together come up with just a few choices based upon the color palette that we've already decided. And so it's just, okay, we like that one versus that one, and it's done.
They do a lot of research. They do a lot of sourcing. And the other thing, to your point around the detail orientation, they bring a huge project management component. Carrie specifically brings a huge project management component of the project. So I think one reason things have gone very smoothly is kind of she, along with me, we've implemented some structure like our weekly calls and all of that. But I mean, that's a huge piece, which is probably worth a whole nother podcast or blog post around project management, because this is a massive project. But I think to your point, I mean, Mike brought the structural piece, the lead piece, obviously. And again, I think it's aesthetics from a designer, but to me, it's form and function, it's behavior, it's how people live, and it's how do you translate that understanding of behavior into an actual solution that supports a space that supports how people want to live. And to me, that's the biggest thing. And again, I would just bring those people in sooner.
Well, and it's key, again, that Mike and Julie would meet at the beginning of the process, because we may want to put a hutch against a wall. We may want to put a buffet with a mirror against a wall. But then Mike would point out and say, hey, but that's where you're going to put your mini split for your heating and air conditioning for that room. So obviously the functionality of that space, the Mitsubishi mini split, has to work in concert at an intimate level with the aesthetics of the room. And that's where both of those skill sets come in. So it's almost like it's bad when you just have discussions about the mechanicals. And you say, oh, we're going to put the mini split on this wall, and then months later you have a discussion with your aesthetic design coordinator, and then you realize, oh, well, we've already put the electricity and the ductwork in for this this device that's going on the wall, so now we don't have that as an option to put something decorative. So it's almost like you paint yourself into a corner by only going down one path, and then separately going down the other path. But when you have both those skill sets in the room at the same time, you can say, hey, Mike and Amy want to put they want to put a buffet with a mirror in this spot because that's aesthetically pleasing to them. And that's a storage space for a lot of their candles or whatnot. And then the architect could say, oh, well, then we need to find another spot on the wall to put these mini splits. So that way, when you get that done early on in the process, you're not stepping on another person's toes later in the process. So that's one of the big learnings that we probably would have done differently if we were to do it all over again. So
yeah. So bring everyone together as soon as possible, right?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think that's the main thing.
Definitely.
But we've been really pleased with our experience, and I think find someone from a design perspective who gets the behavioral piece. It's not just aesthetics, it's not just textures and colors, it's how do you take an understanding of behavior and how the client lives and translate it into how the space is going to work.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
So, awesome! Cool!
All right, guys.
Yay!
That's this week's
podcast.
podcast.
That's a wrap for Boolo's.
Bye.